This week's Parshat Tzav tells us that an Eish Tamid must burn on the altar. The first question to ask is, what does it mean for the fire on the altar to be burning Tamid? How should we understand this word Tamid? And once we know how to translate Tamid, what does the interpretation of Eish Tamid teach us? The Malbim holds that the word Tamid should be translated as consistent. He says that the phrase Eish Tamid means that consistently a fire should burn on the altar, meaning that every day, like clockwork, a fire needs to be lit on the altar. This goes well in context, as the previous verse tells us that every morning the Kohanim are required to arrange and burn the wood on the altar. So if Tamid means consistent, what is the underlying message of Eish Tamid? The importance of consistency. Every day the fire needs to be lit anew. In the context of worshiping God, it shows a need to be consistent in our worship of God. And it is through that consistency that we can develop our relationship with Him. If you think about it, our prayer is exactly like that. 3 times a day, we consistently say the same thing, or at least we say a variation on the same theme. Ibn Ezra does not agree with this idea. Ibn Ezra points out, in contrast to Malbim's idea, the previous verse already required the Kohanim to arrange and burn the wood on the altar every day. That means that the Torah already showed consistency in the previous verse. If we would therefore understand Tamid to mean consistent, the word Tamid would be superfluous in our verse. So what does Tamid mean? Onkelos and the various Targums understand that the word Tamid means more than just consistent. It means to be constant or perpetual. In other words, the fire on the altar must be constantly and continuously burning, never stopping even for a moment. The Tzav further adds that even if there would be nothing to put onto the altar, the fire on the altar must still continue burning. As an aside, the Tzav's comment would also help to explain why the leftover limbs of the offerings of that day were brought throughout the night, to make sure that there would always be something offered on the altar. So what does Tamid then teach us? Yes, consistency is a start. It allows us to become used to something. But it is also human nature that once we become used to something, it starts to become stale, and we start doing it by rote. Therefore, in my relationship with God, my goal should not just be to be consistent, but to be constant. I should constantly strive to always feel that I am standing before God. Similar to what it says in Tehillim, Shiviti Hashem lenegdi tamid. I have set God always before me. Rashi points out that the fire of the Eish Tamid of the altar will be the source of the fire that lights the Ner Tamid, the eternal lamp or flame of the menorah. It is our consistency that lights the different fires, but it is our constant work that allows them to continuously burn. Shabbat Shalom.